It's here, guys. It's finally here. It's out now everywhere. You can listen to it. It's actually out now. This is, of course, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, new album from Kendrick Lamar. It's been 5 years now since his last album came out, Damn, in 2017. And a lot has happened since then in the music world with Kendrick and his life. And it's not like he hasn't put out any music since then, because of course he has. He was associated with the Black Panther soundtrack in 2018, just a year later, and he's had just some singles since then. He's been attached to other projects. He's been active, really. It's not like he's just completely dropped off the face of the earth. But it has been over 5 years, really, since he actually released an album, a solo studio album that's all him and not, associated with a movie or in collaboration with other artists. Like, this is just him. Of course, there are features, of course, but this is his album. And it's been an interesting rollout for this album. Last year, he put out that announcement that this was going to be his last album under the Top Dog label, the Top Dog Entertainment. That got some people talking, and then very shortly after that, if my memory served me correctly, was when Family Ties came out, which was a Baby Keem track as well as a Kendrick track. They had both lead artist credits on it, and that was exciting to actually hear him on a song, because I think at that point it had been about 2.5 years since there was a song with Kendrick, so it was just cool to hear him again, and it was a good song, I thought. Then about a month ago, almost to the day that Damn came out, he announces his new album coming out May 13th. He puts out The Heart Part 5 on May 8th, which was an amazing track, of course, with his ongoing series of The Hearts that he releases before each album. And it was just a phenomenal single, all around great video. It got a bunch of people talking about what it all means, all the different deep fakes he does. What is he trying to say? It's like everything that Kendrick says or does just gets everyone talking and debating about what it all means, what's going on inside his head. And the album's out now. It's 18 tracks long, a double album. The first 9 tracks of it being The Big Steppers, the second half of the album, the second 9 tracks being Mr. Morale. And I'll just be completely honest up front, this album doesn't really do a lot that is new or experimental or different from what else we've heard from Kendrick in the past. There is some different ideas for sure that I'll may or may not get into. I don't like write a script for these videos. I'm just thinking of all this on the fly, really. So like, there's very little construction to how I make these reviews. A lot of this album to me felt very much like a love letter to the fans from Kendrick. He seems like he's just giving us all what we want to hear. He's writing about all that we want to hear about. Of course, not all the tracks embody this type of theme, but I did get that impression now after having heard the album several times, that he just seems very thankful for all the fans that he's had over the years. And of course, the Heart Part 5 also emphasized that idea very much with the first verse. And Kendrick wastes no time at all talking about the fact that it's been 5 years since the release of Damn. Within the opening lines of this album, on the track United in Grief, he says, it's been 1,855 days. He's been going through stuff. I like the tone of this track quite a bit. Him just talking about different things that he's done throughout his career, different endeavors he's gone on. That beat switch right before the first chorus is absolute fire. And then this refrain that he repeats a couple of times, saying "I grieve different," I think makes for some pretty powerful moments as well on the track. I also like the second track to the album, N95. When I first heard this, I thought this sounds like it could be a hit from the album, a single released. And then what do you know, very soon after the album was released, he puts out a video for the song. It's not officially released as a single yet, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be. This is definitely one of the more commercial sounding songs off the album, so I wouldn't be surprised at all if it did. I'm really liking the synth heavy beat in this one. I also like how Kendrick changes up his flow and his tone of voice a couple different times in this song. At one point around the middle, he has this very exasperated delivery, and his voice is cracking, like on the verge of just completely losing his voice, which is awesome. I'm loving the track Worldwide Steppers. I have no idea what the hell is making the sound of this song. Is it a synth? I don't know what it is. I'm loving the tone of it. It kind of reminds me of the song No Church in the Wild. I get a similar vibe from that one. There's some funny, clever lines in this one, and I also like how he talks about kind of just being uninspired the past couple years. He says he had writer's block, which, you know, who knows what that could be from, but I just liked him bringing that up. Die Hard is a cut that goes by surprisingly well, with features from Blast and Amanda Reifer, and I surprisingly liked this one. It's one of the more popular sounding songs off the album, but I think it works better than some of the other ones that are a little more radio friendly. We get a little bit of singing Kendrick in this one, which I'm not always that crazy about. I don't really think he's just a very good singer, honestly. Although I will say he has gotten better. I do see some improvement, especially from a track like God from Damn. There's some clear improvement from then, so I will say that. I'll say this. Father Time featuring Sampha sees K-Dot talking about his childhood and talking about specifically all the rough patches he had with his father. Fittingly so, and he also mentions the Kanye and Drake beef, which I find interesting, and he says like, oh shoot, if they got it together, then, you know, maybe I'm not mature enough. Maybe I gotta sort of reevaluate my character and just myself. I'm not too into the track Rich Spirit. I really feel like this is one of the more blander songs on the album. Kind of just a snooze fest, honestly, from beginning to end. The most entertaining part of it for me was when he just keeps rhyming brother with brother, and it just reminded me of Family Ties, so I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, on the whole, I don't really care for it. We Cry Together is a song that I appreciate very much, and I admire quite a bit for its concepts. I think that Kendrick and Taylor Page both do a very good job on this track. Their delivery and the emotion that they express is commendable for sure, but I'm personally I don't see this track having a lot of replay value for me unless I'm listening to the album. This isn't a track that I would want to just listen to by itself, and the context of the album is fine, but as a song itself, I'm not too compelled by the entirety of it. There are parts of this dispute of sorts that they seem to be going through in the story of the song that are interesting for sure. But personally, I would like to have heard more about what was going on in the relationship and what led to this downfall. And then Purple Hearts, I think, is a pretty good way to close out this first half. I especially like the way the song actually closes out. I like the Ghostface Killah feature quite a bit. Crown is a track where Kenny just is very self-aware of his situation and his level of fame, you know, talking about how just when he releases anything, pretty much it's guaranteed to be a hit and to have success on the charts and everyone's going to listen to it. And he seems to be meditating on the idea of how this level of fame can impact people he's close with, people in his personal life. And just him saying that he can't please everybody, he's just repeating that over and over again, is just incredibly emotional and definitely one of the harder hitting tracks on the album for me. And a track that really surprised me was Savior Interlude. You know, most of the time when these interludes come up on albums, I just think like, oh, okay, it's going to be short. I probably won't want to revisit it again, but I really like this thing a lot. Baby Keem, it's pretty much just the Baby Keem show, and I think he does great. I'm loving the Baroque instrumental that's backing him, and I'm just liking this a lot. I'm liking the tone of it, and I like how it leads into the actual song Savior, which once again has Baby Keem on it, as well as Sam Dew being featured. I find the theatric quality of this track to be kind of interesting at the beginning. After each line that Kendrick delivers, there's this like clapping or these foot stomps, as if it's some kind of call and response theme between the performers on stage and the audience. I don't know, that was kind of the thing that I envisioned when I was listening. And the track paints a pretty trippy sonic picture with what sounds like these reversed synths. It's kind of a cool psychedelic vibe that it's got going on. And then Auntie Diaries is a big one from this album. I've already heard like a lot of people talking about it, and for good reason, because it is incredibly interesting. I mean, so much to unpack and interpret from it. What I interpret from it personally is just that it's all about perspective. You know, it's like what he says in The Heart Part 5, that talking about his perspective, and it's all just about our own viewpoints. And of course, the ending to this track is amazing, like the complete drop the mic moment. Mr. Morale with Tana Leone is a good one as well. Really liking the production from Pharrell. That's really the biggest thing I would think that stands out from this song. Not really anything lyrically that is amazing, but I'm really digging the music, so I can overlook any possible shortcomings with that. Oh, and then Mother I Sober featuring Beth Gibbons. Oh man, this is a tough one. There's such a strong feeling of dread in this track and of guilt. Kendrick talks about, you know, the possible abuse that he received from one of his cousins when he was younger, even though he denies it. He mentions how rapping is a bit of a coping mechanism as well, which is nice to hear, honestly, because I know there have been some rumors that this might be his last album. So when I hear him say that, I'm definitely relieved a little bit. And I'm really liking just the minimalist arrangement in this one, the piano that's playing very softly. Kendrick just has this very soft, quiet delivery, and he gets a little bit louder and a little bit more, not really aggressive, but you know, aggressive compared to how he sounded before at the beginning of the song. It's an extremely powerful track, and certainly one of the highlights from the whole album, especially from an emotional standpoint. I kind of wish at the end of the album, personally, like I like when these dark, sad songs close out an album, but I did like the actual ending track, Mirror. Although admittedly, even though I do enjoy the track, I wasn't really able to think of much comments to make on this one, just because Mother I Sober was such a gut punch and just really, it makes me speechless, honestly. So yeah, I mean, that's Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, Kendrick's highly anticipated album, 5th album. And I very much enjoyed this album a lot. You know, like I said earlier, he doesn't necessarily break a lot of new grounds, but he just brings us more greatness. And there isn't really much of anything better to add to that. I'm just gonna get right to the chase. I'm giving this an A-. I'm really liking it. It's only getting better for me with repeat listens. He's back. I mean, what else can you say? Kendrick's back, and it's almost like he never left with the amount of popularity and talk about this album and The Heart Part 5, and you know, it's just like we're back in 2017 again. I would love to hear what you all think about this, if you have heard it, and what are some standout tracks from you. And I actually want to just make a quick note here before I close things out, that I got a comment recently asking if I would react to an album, or not react, but do a review for it. And I just want to say that I don't want to take requests, because I know that right now my channel isn't that big and a lot of people don't watch it. But you know, thinking optimistically to a future where my channel does get big and I do build a big following, if I take requests, I'm not going to be able to get to them all. And I don't want to do any, because I know that there will be requests that I can't get to, and I don't want to disappoint anyone. Basically, I just don't want to take requests, because I don't ever want to let anyone down and not do a video on what you want me to talk about, because I know that I'm just not going to be able to get to everything. So yeah, just want to put that out there before anyone else asks. I mean, if you ask, that's fine. I'll make a comment about it, I guess. But yeah, those are all my thoughts on this album. I loved it. Please, of course, let me know what you think about it as well. And thank you all for watching. Peace out.